All right, class, today's lesson, subtracting integers. The first thing I want to say is when we are subtracting integers, if you understood the previous lesson, which was how to add integers, really subtracting integers is the exact same thing. In fact, that's what subtraction means. Subtracting means to add the opposite of. So we know what opposites are and we know how to add already. So we should be able to work through this lesson okay. I want to start with just comparing two different types of problems here, and I want to show you that these are the same thing. So I want to start with the problem. Let's do 7 minus 3. All right. Now I know that's a super hard one for you guys, but I want to compare that. If I do 7 minus 3, and then I want to compare that to if I do 7 plus a negative 3. And the whole reason of doing this is I want to show you that actually subtracting is the same thing as adding the opposite. So we all know when we do 7 minus 3 that 7 minus 3 is 4. Okay, now if that's the problem in the book, 7 minus 3, all right, something that simple, just go ahead and solve it. If you do 7 minus 3, you write down the answer 4, circle your answer, you move on. You don't have to do all the thinking about all the rules that I'm about to tell you. All right, but I do want to point out this. Now, what we learned yesterday was how to add integers. And if we're adding integers, which is this problem here, what we learned yesterday that if the signs were the same, we were supposed to add the two integers. If the signs were different, that told us to subtract. So really, I really don't care if it's a subtraction sign here in the middle or if it's an addition sign here in the middle. That really doesn't tell me anything. What tells me what to do if I'm going to add or subtract is the sign of the numbers. And since I know this is a positive 7 and that this is a negative 3, it's those signs that tell me am I supposed to add these or subtract these. Since the signs are different, that tells me to subtract. 7 minus 3 is 4, and as we learned yesterday, since 7 is normally bigger than 3, the 7 is a positive number. That means there are more positives, we get a positive answer. Okay, so these two equations are pretty much the same. It doesn't matter if I'm subtracting 3 or if I'm adding the opposite of negative 3. It makes no difference really either way. Okay, so here's our rule. When subtracting integers, we add the opposite. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back and write down that same thing that we started with, which was 7 minus 3. Okay, now, again, if you see this on a test, you see 7 minus 3, we all know the answer is 4. You go ahead and write that down and you're done with the problem. But I want to use this as an example to show you what this rule means. It says when subtracting integers, we add the opposite. The key here is this. When we see a subtraction, if you're like me, I don't like subtraction, so I want to get rid of that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add the opposite. And the rule that we're going to do here is this. We are going to use the words leave, change, opposite. And if you can remember this, leave, change, opposite, you're going to know how to do all of these subtraction problems. And here's what it means to do. Leave, change, opposite stands for each thing in this problem. It says, start with the 7. Okay, that's what we're supposed to leave. You leave the first number alone. You don't do anything with it. Okay, the subtraction. We don't like subtraction, so we're going to change it. We change the subtraction to addition. And then the 3 here, we're going to make it its opposite. The opposite of 3 is negative 3. And now that we've changed the problem over, now it's just as simple of doing the same thing we did when we did our adding lesson. All right, the signs are different, so we subtract. 7 minus 3 is 4, and since the 7 was the bigger number and that was a positive, that means my answer is positive. We get a positive 4. But this is really the key that we want to learn today here is this phrase right here, the leave, change, opposite. Anytime that I see a subtraction symbol, all right, we want to do that. We don't want the subtraction in the middle, so we're going to do leave, change, opposite. Okay? Here's 3 problems for you guys to do. All right? And again, what I want you to be doing is practicing this leave, change, opposite. I want you to do that for all 3 problems. And after you change it over, then those should be addition problems. Then you should be able to use our rules from our adding integers lesson. So go ahead, pause the video, Try these on your own. All right, class, hopefully you're back. You've tried these on your own. I'm going to go through here. I see the subtraction on each one of these, and I know anytime I see that minus sign in the middle, I don't want that to be there, so we're going to go ahead and do leave, change, opposite. So if I start switching this, the 4, I leave. The subtraction, I change to addition. The 10, I make it its opposite, which is negative 10. Now I can use my adding integers rule, which tell me that the signs are different. I know the 4 is a positive 4, and the 10 is a negative 10. The signs are different, so I subtract. I take 10, I subtract 4 to get 6, and since there are more negatives, since 10 is bigger than 4, that means there are more negatives. The 10 was a negative, the answer is going to be a negative. Okay? Part B, same thing. I see that subtraction in the middle. I don't want subtraction. So the 7, I'm going to leave it. The subtraction, I'm going to change it to addition. The negative 5, I make it its opposite, which is positive 5. And look at that. That's just a simple adding problem that we've done since we were very young in school. 7 plus 5 gives us 12. Okay? So the whole key is doing that leave, change, opposite to get rid of the subtraction, and then we'll use our adding rules. Part C here. Leave, change, opposite. The negative 2 I leave, so it stays a negative 2. The subtraction we change to addition. The opposite of negative 9 is positive 9. Now we use our rules. This is a negative 2. This is a positive 9. Since the signs are different, I subtract. 9 minus 2 is 7. The 9 was the larger number, and that's a positive. Our answer is positive. And that's really subtracting integers, guys. So it's a lot the same. Matter of fact, it is the same as adding integers, as long as you do the leave, change, opposite to get rid of the subtraction. One last problem for us. Here we go. Evaluate the expression when x equals negative 9. Really the same thing, except for the first step is to plug in what the variable equals. So pause the video, go ahead and do these on your own, and then I'll finish up. Okay, we're back. Since x equals negative 9, I'm going to plug that in place of x, so that becomes negative 9 minus a negative 40. Okay, since I see the subtraction in the middle, I know I don't want a subtraction, so let's go ahead and do our leave, change, opposite. Leave the negative 9. The subtraction I change. The opposite of negative 40 is 40. And this really should go along the same lines, guys, as what we did before when we said that if you have a negative like that, if there are two negatives, it actually becomes a positive 40. It's kind of like before. Now we can finish off here. I have a negative 9, negative. I have a positive 40. Signs are different, so we subtract. 40 minus 9 gives us 31. The 40 was larger, so the positives have more. So 31 is my final answer. Okay. Last one, 7 minus x. Take the negative 9, plug it in. Again, be careful. I have the 7 minus. That's from the problem already. Then the x is negative 9. Okay. We're going to leave the 7. The subtraction here, we change to addition. The opposite of negative 9 is positive 9. And then finish it up. 7 plus 9 is 16. So again, guys, if I can leave you with anything, if you know how to add integers, you should know how to subtract integers. It's just a matter of when you see the subtraction symbol, that tells you to do leave, change, opposite, and make it into these addition problems, and then finish up. That's today's lesson. Good luck.